In this video, I'm going to share how to create a character in the fantasy role-playing game, Wizard Bane. You have 10 character creation points. This spread among 6 character attributes. And these 6 character attributes are muscle, like strength, agility, physique, reason, will, aura. When you are setting up your character, you can choose to have the PermaDeath option or not. So what is a PermaDeath option? Well, it's like Iron Man mode. So PermaDeath option, when you gain experience points, you have the PermaDeath option enabled, you will gain 1.75 experience points. So 175% of experience points instead of just 100. However, so you will level up faster, supposedly. However, once you're dead, you're dead. You can't use the character ever again once a PermaDeath character dies. If you're just normal, you're not using the PermaDeath option, you gain experience at 100%. And when you die, you can use the character again, but I'll experience anything you gained during the game session where your character died, you don't have it. But you can use the character that died in the next session if you're not using PermaDeath. You have 10 character creation points, 6 character attributes. You can get more character creation points for every attribute that you apply -2. You want to make muscle -2. I don't recommend it, but you can do that. Then you'll have 11 character creation points. If you make muscle -4, you will have 12 character creation points to put among the rest. However, that's not a good idea because muscle is used for determines the damage you do with melee weapons. So a character that has a muscle value of 1 will do less damage with the same sword versus a character who has a muscle value of 3. Muscle value also determines your inventory slots. So if you have a muscle value in the negative, you're not carrying anything. Muscle value also goes toward calculating your character's movement. So not a good idea to have muscle in the negative. You can, just not recommended. Now, there are 2 attributes you cannot add character creation points if you make them negative. That is physique and aura. Okay, and I'll get into that. Aura determines your alignment. More negative is evil, more positive is good. So when you put a character creation point into aura, either negative or positive, you're using up a character creation point. You can't get character creation points by having aura be -2. If you have aura be -2, you're taking 2 character creation points away and applying them to aura at -2. So you're a little bit, getting a little bit evil there type thing. Okay, and I'll get more of the aura in a little bit. The rest, muscle, agility, reason, and will, every -2 points at character creation for those 4 attributes, you gain 1 more character creation point. Now, agility, that's the value you use when you're rolling for ranged weapons. Okay, you apply modifiers, and you have the higher agility value your character has, the easier it will be to land shots with ranged weapons and throwing weapons. Muscle is also important for like throwing weapons. If you want to be some character that goes around throwing daggers, the higher your muscle value, the further your range with throwing daggers. But the skill that will directly affect your accuracy of throwing daggers is agility. And if you're an archer character and you end up leveling up a few times or many times and you have a high muscle value, that will increase the range of your bow. When you roll the dice, the agility value is going to be factored in for accuracy. And agility is also good for warriors. Okay, let's say there's 2 warrior characters next to each other and they're having it out swinging their swords. Let's say they both have a muscle value of 3. And then one warrior character has an agility value of 5. Another warrior character has an agility value of 3. The warrior character with agility value of 5 is going to have an advantage of being able to hit. But the muscle value governs the damage done by swords. And the muscle value also is factored in when rolling the dice along with their agility value for being able to hit. But if you have a high agility value in the game, it will also be easier not to be hit. Physique. It's a measure of the physical body. Okay. Now, physique, when you let's say you put -2 in physique, you do not get another character creation point. Negative physique indicates the character is undead, and every point in physique gives you 5 health points. So if you hit your character and you give your character -2 physique, your character has 10 health points and it's undead. And if you give your character 2 health points, positive 2 health points, positive 2 physique, you have 10 health points and you're not undead. Now, the physique value is also your fatigue point value. So if you have 2 positive value in physique, you have 10 health points, you also have a fatigue point value of 2. Now, fatigue points That's like a strategic resource you can use throughout the game. For instance, if you run 2 movement phases in a row, you use up 1 fatigue point. If you walk and then run, and then the 3rd movement phase you walk, the 4th movement phase you run, you don't use up any fatigue points. And you can also rest to restore fatigue points, but for those rounds you don't do anything. You can also use fatigue points, like if you get hit, someone lands a hit on you with their sword, you can go, hold on, I'm going to use a fatigue point and try to block. And then you do the calculations, roll the dice, and if you're successful in blocking, you're not damaged at all. Undead, they can't use fatigue. The undead are also immune to poison and disease, but you cannot use fatigue. So that's right, undead characters cannot block at all. But since they're not affected by fatigue, they can run around forever. They can just run every single turn. Reason. Okay, that's like intelligence. This is directly tied to how many experience points you gain when leveling up. Reason also determines the magic user's, wizards, sorcerers, sorceresses, spell range. So each spell does not have a set range. The range of every spell is set by the casting it by their reason value. So the higher your reason value, if you want to use magic, the further your spells will go. And yeah, you can make reason negative. You can go, I'm going to have an archer and you go, first off the bat, -10 reason. You can do that. It's going to be very, very difficult for that character to level up, though. You're going to have to like hoard experience points before you can even level up a little bit, because the -10 reason is going to decimate your ability to level up. But you can do that. You can go, I'm going to go -10 reason, then you have like 5 more character creation points, and like I'm going to stick those in agility, and then divvy up the 10 around other stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can do that. Now, will isn't willpower. Will in Wizard Bane is your character's ability to use magic, and it also provides magic resistance. In this fantasy universe of Wizard Bane, if a magic user, like a wizard, has a will value of 3, and they're casting a spell against you, and you have a will value of 7, they can hit you, but the spell's going to do less damage than its base damage because your will value is higher than theirs. Now, if you were to cast a spell against them and you hit them, like you have a will value of 7, they have a will value of 3, it's going to do around 180% base damage to them because your will value is higher than theirs. What you can do is, let's say you're like, you know what? I'm going to create an assassin character. I'm not going to worry about leveling up. I'm going to put reason at -10 and will at -10. So that's 5 and 5. You start out with 10 creation points. Well, now if you do that, now you have 20 creation points. Divvy up between muscle, agility, physique, and aura. However, forget ever leveling up, but maybe you're like, I'm going to be the super duper assassin just starting out. Okay. You're like, all right, I'm just going to put, 1 point in aura, or -1 in aura. I have 19 points left, 10 for agility, 4 for muscle, 5 for physique. Okay. Yeah, you could do that. However, if you get hit with a magic spell and you have -10 will, and a lame wizard who has a will value of 1 casts a spell at you and hits you, spell's base damage is going to do 300% damage. I mean, that spell's going to do 300% the base damage to you. Imagine what if a wizard or sorceress has a will value of 5 and you have a will value of -10 and they cast a spell at you. Yeah, I mean, just a wizard or a lame wizard having a will value of 1 hitting you with a spell and you have -10 will, you're going to be obliterated. Someone with will value of 5 or 10 hits you with a spell, it's gone nuclear at that point. So you can do that. You can like, I'm going to have reason of will -10. Woohoo, I have a lot of points now and divvy it up, but you get hit with 1 spell and it's game over for your character. All right, so aura. Aura, sort of like charisma. There's optional rules in the game where you can use aura to make spell casting easier, because there are spells that are either neutral rated. It's the same success rate for evil or good characters that use them. And there are spells that are rated for good aligned characters or bad aligned characters. So if you want to play with those optional rules, and you're going to use a spell which is easier for evil characters to cast. Well, in that case, if you have negative aura, it will be easier for you to cast that spell. Now, if your aura is positive, you can still cast that spell, but it's going to be harder. Aura you can also use to inspire characters. Like, let's say you have 2 archers next to each other. Okay, they found a good spot. You're on both of them high ground, so you can snipe other characters. One of the archers has a very high aura, above a certain level above the other archer. Then the archer with lesser aura is going to be inspired by the archer with higher aura, and it will improve their shot, improve their accuracy when shooting. Now, calculating character movement speed. Your muscle and agility values together, that's your run speed, divided by 1.5 is your walk speed. And when you level up your character, if you increase muscle agility, you refactor the speed your character moves at. Characters' walking and running speed are capped at 5 and 8, respectively, but those can be increased with racial traits, perks, and magic spells. Now, also, there's Renown in the game. So each character starts with 10 Renown, and this determines what equipment your character can have. Now, of course, your muscle value is your inventory slots as well. So, but let's say you have a muscle value of 2. All right, you can carry a maximum of 2 items, maybe like chest armor and a sword, or a longbow and arrows. And yes, all characters are clothed. Armor takes up inventory slots. In the book, it gives each equipment item a renown value. So you have a renown value of 10. In fact, let's say you have a muscle value of 6. If you have a renown value of 10, I guarantee you're not going to have 6 items. You're going to have to level up and increase your renown value before you can actually carry 6 items, because every item has a renown value. So that's for bringing equipment, like starting equipment for the game session. However, let's say one of your friends who's a magic user casts a spell on someone you're playing against, hits their character, sucks their fatigue points from them, sucks them dry. So then they collapse. They're still alive, but they're going to be unconscious for a little bit. When they're unconscious, you can go over there and say, hey, that's a nice sword you have. You pick it up. Okay. Renown determines what equipment you can start with. So yeah, you can totally go and loot unconscious characters and take their stuff. And then you can go, you know what? Thanks for the sword. And then you run them through with it. Yeah, I know, that's mean. That's what you can do in Wizard Bane. So yeah, you can still play your stuff. And actually, you get one of the things you get experience for in Wizard Bane. In the rule book, it has a list of actions you can do during the game that will give you experience points. Yeah, stealing inventory from another player will give you experience points. So healing another player will also give you experience points. And of course, doing away with another character will give you experience points. And there are other actions you can do. I didn't list all of them. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make games, play games, and have fun.